Did you know? It's the 13th of March 2001. A sleek Mercedes-Benz drives through the suburbs of East Cantonment. Almost nearing the entrance of its destination, an unknown vehicle rams into it and speeds off, causing this Mercedes-Benz to somersault several times. People rush to the scene only to discover an old man with injuries all over his body and his face. But this was no ordinary man. This was a distinguished Ghanaian. You see, this man was born in Senyabreko in the Central Region on the 14th of July 1927. He then moves on and gets into Infantipem and Achimota School in 1941 and 1946 respectively. Then thereafter, he travels to the United States of America, where he obtains a degree in economics at the Tufts College. By 1954, he earns an MBA at Harvard University. So clearly this was a brilliant man, this was a smart man. Anyway, he works briefly at an oil company in New York called Sekoni, and then comes down to Ghana and gets into the role of a marketing executive, which eventually gets him to become the managing director of Mobil Oil Ghana. I don't know how many of you remember Mobil Oil Ghana, but they probably could be like Shell right now or Go. I don't know which is the biggest right now, but anyway. So after that, and over a span of several years, he gets into the role of becoming the managing director of GNTC, the managing director of the Ghana Airways Airlines, the managing director of the Ghana Procurement Agency. And so you could say his life was going well. He was on the right trajectory. Getting to 1992, after a long rule under a military leader, an election is scheduled for that year. A political party is formed called the National Conventions Party, the NCP, and they choose this man as their leader and flag bearer. But almost nearing the election, the NDC, led by Flight Lieutenant Jerry John Rawlings, decided they needed to align with a party that had a compromised ideology, which they believe was going to help and increase their chances of winning the elections, or also draw a lot of Ghanaians in. So anyway, there's a merger between the NDC and the NCP going into that election, and by the agreement they had, it makes this man the running mate to Jerry John Rawlings going into the elections. So the elections happened. The NPP was led by Professor Edu Boahen. Hillary Man, after being overthrown in 1981, I mean, this is like, 11 years on, comes back on a ticket of the PNP for that election. Anyway, the NDC wins the election by I think 58%. And so by that win and by the inauguration that happens in 1993, we get our first vice president under the Fourth Republic in the person of Col and Kensen Akar. But the tenure of Akar from 1993 to 1997 was not exactly smooth. Right when he got into the role, there was a lot of issues, including in August of 1994, a University of Ghana student, 23-year-old Jimai Mayali, comes out to the public and the press and alleges an inappropriate sexual relationship with the vice president. He comes out, tries to kill the story, tries to subdue it, and later makes a claim that the NDC and the ruling government had set him up because Jemima here was the niece of Sampi Ali, who was a very respected member of the NDC. He never really denied the claim, but this incident only increases the tension, so much that in a May Day speech to workers, he used the platform to attack and ask the government to withdraw the 17.5% VAT that they had put before the parliament. Interestingly, just a few days after the famous Kumi Prekum demonstration happens that caused a lot of people to die and get injured. But that's a story for another day. I would tackle the Kumi Prekum demonstration in another episode. But it did not end there. In August of that same year, 1995, Utah goes on strike. They make a lot of demands. The president at the time, Jerry John Rawlings, is out of the country in New Zealand on a Commonwealth Summit. And so by the power as the acting president, Akar then directs the Minister of Education, then Harry Sawyer, to meet with the executives of UTAG. And eventually he pushes the Minister of Education and the then Minister of Finance to meet them and agree to their terms, which then leads to an MOU between the government and UTAG, agreeing to almost all their demands. So the president hears this, he's infuriated, he's angry, he's pissed off. The ruling government is upset about why he was doing this. I mean, why is this guy trying to make our governance so difficult? All these things happen, including the rumor that he was leaking cabinet meetings, information from cabinet meetings to the press. So all these gathers so much that he now earns the nickname the Stubborn Cat. There's a famous incident that I believe a lot of Ghanaians already know about, which because it became a very big agenda for opposition parties. But on 28th of December 1995, there's a cabinet meeting. All the ministers are present. The president, Jerry Rawlings himself, is present. The vice president, Akar, is also present. And it is said that during this meeting, Akar makes no submission, doesn't talk, nothing, just kept writing. The president, seeing that, got pissed off. I mean, coming at the back of the rumor that he was leaking information to the press, he confronted him, and there's a scuffle, almost like a brawl. The two of them got engaged in, and they both end up on the ground or on the floor. So they are separated, and right after that, the vice president zooms out of the meeting, goes straight to the IGP, and reports the president for assault, showing his tattered clothes, his sleeve, the sleeve of his suit had been torn. He then later tells the press that he was punched, he was slapped, he was beaten. Anyway, some of the people in the cabinet meeting later came out. Obviously, initially they denied it, but they later came out and said that there was a scuffle. He wasn't beaten. There was a scuffle, and when he was leaving the meeting, his suit was not torn. He was okay. So they believe that he probably did that just to make the case a huge issue. So anyway, this happens on the 28th, just a few weeks after, about 2 or 3 weeks, on 19th January, the NCP, following all these stuff that were happening, decided that they were going to isolate themselves as a party and get themselves ready for the 1996 election that was going to happen in December. And so they take this stance and then choose Akar to become their flag bearer and leader again. But in August of that same year, the MPP, which had then also gone through their primaries and chosen J. Kufuor as their flag bearer, decided that they needed to engage other smaller parties to increase their chances of winning the elections. And one of these parties becomes the NCP, who had already gone into some sort of measure with the People's Conventions Party, the PCP. And so these parties decided they were going to get into the measure with MPP. And after that, they needed to choose the leader who was going to represent the party between Akar and J. Kufuor. So the elections is held among the executives. There's a tie until the chairman of the PCP, Alhaji Suma Banda, the famous Alhaji Suma Banda, breaks the tie and gives his vote to J. Kufuor. So eventually, J. Kufuor leads the MPP going into the elections. And we all know what happened. The NDC won that election. And so after that, we hardly heard about the vice president Akar until in 2001, during the inauguration of J. Kufuor, who had then won the 2000 elections. He was present with his wife. It looks like after the 1996 elections, he went into living a quiet life. But yeah, this is the first time people see him in a very long time publicly and also on our television sets, until the incident I started the story with just 2 months after the inauguration. So this accident happens, and it wasn't really just him who was a victim of this accident. There was a young man who happened to be around the scene, a shoe dealer, 24-year-old shoe dealer, who was hit by the Benz that some assaulted. He was taken to the hospital and discharged the same day, but the vice president unfortunately had to go to a number of surgeries. He was held at the 37 military hospital, and then eventually he was flown to Atlanta in the US for further care. And unfortunately, on the 25th of April, he gave up the ghost, and at the age of 74. It's very sad how his life ended. But anyway, this is a story of one of Ghana's most distinguished men. I mean, for the role he held, all the roles he held, and in his career, and what he was able to do, not just in Ghana, he held several roles outside of here in a lot of countries in Africa. And for him being the only vice president we probably know to stand up to his own ruling government, I wouldn't say party because he wasn't really part of the NDC, but I doubt we would ever see any disruptive vice president again. in our lifetime. So anyway, this is a new channel on TikTok, on YouTube. Kindly subscribe, follow, make your comment, put your opinions out, and keep an eye on this platform. There are a lot of stories from our history, from before that we've not heard about, or we've not really realized that I'm going to be putting out on these platforms. So keep an eye over here and just follow. We out.